Welcome back to another episode of Tuxedo Time.
Where we wear tuxedos.
And it is time. Podcast edition. I think we're getting better at this.
A little bit.
A little bit.
What's the subtitle?
Subtitle is hashtag joint YouTube channel, hashtag making videos with your friend and or spouse and or brother and sister and or friend. I don't know. Partner. We're talking about joint YouTube channels, but hang on, I got to situate my ice pack. One sec.
Okay, let me just paint this picture here for you. She's walking through the house, and what is your back flaring up again?
Okay, over the vacation that I took, within like 2 days, I fucked my back. Like I threw my back
How?
out.
You didn't even pick anything up?
I didn't do anything.
You weren't like lifting any heavy?
I was laying on the couch. I threw my back out, laying on the couch. This is my age. Welcome to 30s. Your 30s. I'm 33. I threw my back out real bad last summer. Like the worst I've ever thrown my back out. The first time I threw my back out was when I was 25, shoveling snow, and I threw my back out, and I've been fucked ever since. But last summer I lifted a piece of furniture the wrong way.
And so when you say throw your back out, do you mean an acute flare-up of lower back pain?
I mean, like
sometimes with ridiculous symptoms going down your legs?
When I threw my back out last summer, I couldn't walk for 3 or 4 days. Like, I couldn't get out of bed.
That was when you were in Newfoundland?
Yes.
So you went home for a trip home to see family, and you had to spend it in your bed?
I spent it in bed. 2 days I could not get out of bed. The morning I woke up, I was just like, I couldn't get up. I was in the most pain I've ever been in my life. I could not sit up and get out of the bed. And when I finally got myself up, I couldn't stand up. And it was terrifying. I was in excruciating pain. It was shooting down my leg. My entire back was just like...
And then you had to actually fly home.
Yes. It was, yeah.
And then less than 3 weeks later, you had
to Cold Island.
You had to spend 40 hours in a mildly uncomfortable helicopter share seat.
It was funny. Like it surprisingly wasn't too bad. Like during that trip, I thought so when I did it, it was like I went to Newfoundland. The next day, I was there for a week. I threw my back out. I spent 2 days in bed. For 3 or 4 days, I couldn't walk like at all. Like I had to walk. I was walking like an old woman up the street, like holding onto my mom.
No.
Because like I couldn't walk, and like putting pants on hurt, everything, like it sucked. And so when I was going home, I was like, how am I going to lift my backpack, my heavy camera bag, and my suitcase and put it in the overhead compartment? So for the whole week leading up to the trip, I was like doing everything in my power to try to like suck the disc back in.
Doing your little exercises?
I was doing exercises. I was heating. I was icing. I was trying to keep moving, but also like
You're
resting.
assuming it was a herniated disc.
Well, that's what I felt like because
you don't know what that feels like.
Well, I'm assuming that's what it was.
It's like when you tell me, it's like, I feel like my bones are grinding together in my back right now. That's what it feels like.
Well, I guess I didn't know it felt like that until I was diagnosed with that's what it was. When I got...
Yeah, you had some bulge discs on your MRI, but I mean...
But it was like a significant amount better when I had that MRI than when I like did it for the first time. So if you like MRI'd me when I did it the first time, it probably would have been like, oh, wowee.
Maybe, or maybe it was all just muscle spasm.
Could have been a bit of both. Anyway, I was on muscle relaxants. I was sleeping with a pillow under my knees. But you know what? It's crazy how quickly, like... That week was excruciating. And then when I got back, it was still fucked up. But when we did Cold Island, it didn't really bother me that much, which is really weird.
Because you were too afraid of being stranded on a rock. The fear took over and you didn't think about the pain as much.
No, exactly. But anyway, so this is what happens. See, I'll have a really bad episode and I'll be fine. And then I'll lift something the wrong way or do something the wrong way. But I think a few days before, we were out like lifting the slat wall outside. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, remember I said like, ooh, I think I just lifted the wrong way.
Yeah, but you didn't really have excruciating pain at that moment.
I didn't have pain, but I had this weird like stretchy feeling in the back of my lower back. Anyway, a few days later, I was in pain. And now I have a different type of pain, but it's killing me. So I have ice packs stuck on my... Long story.
Oh, yeah. So that
roundabout.
Coming full circle here, the description of her was she's walking away from me in the kitchen, and I look at her, she's got 2 lunchbox-style blue ice packs stuck in her pants... in her back waistband.
Yeah.
And then around it to reinforce it, she's got some sort of like wide black and white belt of some sort.
Yeah.
What is that?
It was a strap. Like you could buy these straps that you can put on. So I had bought it for my helmet bag.
Oh, like a shoulder strap.
Like a shoulder strap.
For like a bag.
Right. But there's no like attachment. So I took the carabiner off my camera bag and put it on the end.
So you made
strapped ice packs to my back.
You got strap-on ice packs.
Yeah, I got strap-on ice packs.
Like a little jet pack.
It feels great back there. I mean, I'm in excruciating pain the last 2 days, but the ice pack feels great.
Well, that's fantastic. So now this first 4 minutes has been nothing to do with a joint YouTube channel.
No. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about that. I thought it'd be kind of an interesting.
We know the fact that we live together and we're joined through holy matrimony.
We are.
Not so holy matrimony.
Yeah.
Just matrimony.
Matrimony.
And you wear ice packs around the house.
Yeah. I mean, we've been together for 17 years. You've seen everything about me. Now you've seen me strap ice packs to my back. Okay?
So joint YouTube channel as opposed to not having a joint YouTube channel, like a single person YouTube channel?
Right. So a lot of our friends who are couples have their own YouTube channels. And you and I have a YouTube channel together.
Yeah.
Joint.
So I think you're probably referring to like Chris and Lizzie. So Lizzie Pierce and Chris Howe.
Yep.
Johnny and Iz.
Yes.
Johnny Harris and Iz Harris.
Yep. They all have their own YouTube channels. So I just wanted to like talk about, I think I saw, sometimes I see people asking questions in some of the groups I'm in about like I'm starting a YouTube channel with my friend or with my so-and-so. And I just thought it'd be interesting to actually talk about the realities of what it's like behind the scenes of having a joint YouTube channel, because it probably looks fun and great, but you might also notice that sometimes there's videos where it's just me and not Chris. And sometimes there's videos where it's mostly just Chris and not me, but more often it's just me.
It's because you're not dedicated to the channel, and I am.
No. But anyway, I want to talk about some of the pros and cons, like the positives, the negatives of having a YouTube channel, but like, and then also maybe a little bit about like what our channels would look like if they were separate. But we'll save that till after the break.
Oh, we start with the negatives.
All right, we'll start with the negatives first.
Okay. So the negatives of sharing a YouTube channel is that it probably won't work out.
Correct. Yeah, depending on who you have decided to share your YouTube channel with.
So just look at it from a standpoint of you marrying this person, not romantically, but you are literally starting something with them, and it's a relationship. And 50% of marriages will fail. So by extrapolation, you could almost say that 50% of YouTube channels will fail at being a joint partnership. But that's just the partnership aspect of it. Because if you look at YouTube channels on a whole, they're probably already going to fail anyway, because most YouTube channels will fail.
Yeah.
So you're just adding another variable that's not going to work out. Now, that's not to scare anybody.
No.
Because if you're building a YouTube channel on a relationship that's already has a strong foundation, kind of like what we did, we were pretty sure that our relationship is going to be fine, so it wasn't going to negatively affect our YouTube channel. Now, the assumption there is that the YouTube channel, by taking on that extra responsibility, is not going to change the nature and dynamic of the relationship, because I would almost say that, when people talk about like doing home renovations, take on a home renovation, and that's going to stress your relationship because you're going to be taking on a new task or job.
You have to work as a team, and if you don't work great as a team.
Same thing could happen if you try to take on a YouTube channel. It's like working with your spouse.
Yeah. I think there's like a question you need to ask yourself before you start a joint channel with somebody, is because at surface level, it looks like just a fun YouTube channel. Do I want to start a business with this person? If this turns into something where we're making money, is this a person that A, I can trust, B, that's going to be as dedicated as I'm going to be, C, that has the same vision as I have? Do we have compatible skills? Are there going to be issues down the road if we start making money? Is this what they want to do with their life? So, if
very complicating factors.
It is. And sometimes you don't think about that because you're like, oh, this is a cool idea. Let's start this because we're friends and it's fun.
Yeah. But I mean, and generally speaking, whenever there's a dispute that arises from some sort of partnership, it's always because each party has a different perception of what their value is.
Right.
And that's how things ultimately deteriorate. So like, for example, let's say you started a YouTube channel with a buddy and you just happen to own the camera and knew how to use it and did the editing. So your buddy shows up and they don't do the editing. So how do you value that?
Right.
Maybe your buddy brings all the ideas to the table. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, there's a split of labor. Or maybe you bring all the ideas and you do all the editing. But yet the person still thinks that they are 50%, because if it wasn't for them, then it's their 50% of the personality on the channel. So
right.
It's like...
And now that still has value. 50% of the personality on the channel has value.
Definitely.
For sure.
When you try to quantify that and you say like, well, now we're making money, so do we split it 50-50?
Exactly.
Or do we go like, well, I'm going to value your contribution because you're doing the groundwork. We're going to go like 75-25.
Right.
Or the person who is saying, well, I'm 50% of the talent, so we're both 50% of the talent, and that's where all the value is. It's in the personalities, and the rest is just a task we could pay someone else to do.
Right.
Then do you really deserve 50% of the income? So it's like, it's very
becomes
weird.
Very complicated.
Yeah. I like your business analogy, because I never thought about it as like you're starting a business with somebody.
Yeah, because a lot of times I feel like you start a thing, you're like, oh, this will be fun to do, and then things start growing or becomes more serious. And then it's like, oh, wait, shit, we never talked about what happens when we make money and who gets what and how many hours are you putting in compared to what other people are putting in? What's your level of dedication?
Yep.
I think when you're starting with your spouse, if you have a lot of things in common and you're both on the same page, it becomes easier, especially if you're living together. However, if you're not on the same page and don't have the same interests and your spouse doesn't really want to talk about, say cars, for example, but she wants to talk about flag making and you don't want to talk about that, then it can become complicated unless your channel is basically based off of your personality and not like your niche. But it's hard, man. And like I see a lot of people saying like, I want my wife or my husband to be in my YouTube channel, but they have no interest in
whatever the niche is.
And you can't force that.
No.
You can't.
That's why people have man caves.
Correct. Yes. But it's funny, like going back to with like friends and stuff, it's also difficult when you have two separate lives who live in two separate houses with different relationships, coordinating time to dedicate to making videos, filming videos, planning videos. So if you're shooting with your friends, say, and both of you guys have day jobs and the other person's not willing to spend some time after work to film with you, but you have goals and ideas for your channel, it's not going to work.
I don't see how people have friends, honestly.
What do you mean? You don't see how people have friends like
No, just from
in
a
general?
time standpoint.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you work a full-time job, you're getting home, you've got to like eat, personal hygiene.
I mean, let's be honest, Chris. When did you shower last? I can almost see my face in your hair.
I'm pleading the fifth right now.
Okay.
Next question. Yeah, but like, all those things that come with living.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you have your own hobbies. And it's like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel with my friend who doesn't live in the same house as me.
Yeah.
And then you got to like schedule something.
Yeah.
And then there's coronavirus.
Yeah. I mean, these are all the things you have to think about.
No, they're challenging for sure.
Yeah. I think a podcast is like different. I think it still has its challenges, especially like with the roles of what everybody's taking on. It's one person always ends up doing way more of the work because, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Same with YouTube. It's like one person is probably going to be good at editing. If you're both good at editing, amazing. Bulk film, split up the work, decide on a format. But then there's even that. How do you decide on style, format, color grading? What if one person likes teal and orange and the other person likes desaturated? Like there's compromises there that you have to make. Do you want to have like, is your YouTube header going to be a photo of you guys smiling, doing something fun, or is it going to be something more serious? Like there are all sorts of styling and branding things even that you have to talk
creative
about.
decisions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And oftentimes that can get delegated to like one person more than the other too. If someone has more of an artistic design flair, then it's going to be that fall in that person's lap. But oftentimes on the Venn diagram of creativity, like the person who's doing that is probably also the person who's going to be shooting and using the camera.
Yeah. And the person who's bringing the camera to the table and who's shooting is probably going to be editing, and that person's going to be doing way more of the work than the other person. So I think it depends on the goals, but there's definitely like a lot of things to consider.
So y'all got to find your own Becki, and she's mine, and you can't have her.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, everyone's got a price. Name your price.
Hey, what the fuck?
So, anybody who's followed our stuff closely may or may not be aware that I also had a second joint YouTube channel with somebody who wasn't Becki. Gasp. And it was with...
How did I still end up doing all of the editing?
But somehow you ended up... well, you were hired by...
Yeah, I was hired.
Our company to do it. So that's how you got roped in.
Right.
So it was... Technically, you were involved as well, but you were doing all the technical stuff, filming, editing, and it was me and it was Dr. John and Dr. Chris was the name of the channel. Videos are still up, and it was an interventional radiology channel, and we got I don't know how many videos did you like 13 videos?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it had some steam and some momentum.
I had so many ideas for that channel.
It was hard because Dr. John, he was very involved in the business side of the practice, as well as practice. Growth. He's always going to meetings and things like that. So it was more difficult for him to find time to shoot videos. And so Becki would be like, oh, can we shoot this day? And then he would not be able to do it because of things. And in medicine, obviously...
medicine comes first. Like
it's going to be...
YouTube always comes second.
Right.
Yeah.
So there'd be times, when you'd show up to film and he just wouldn't be there.
show up. Yeah.
Right. So, and he had stuff to do, and the whole project kind of started to fall apart because of that. And then ultimately he moved on to another job. We wish him the best. That's how it came to a grinding halt. But it just kind of illustrates difficulties there where if you can't even schedule and get on the same schedule because of life and work, it's not going to work.
Right. And it's funny when you become used to, like, I'm used to our relationship and how our channel works, and it works well. We've figured out whose roles are what and like what the capacity of both people are to make the videos that we make. So I just assumed like, hey, you're involved, I'm involved, and this other person's involved, we could do this. And it ended up being...
Well, it ended up being you and I brainstorming alone, just the two of us, coming up with these ideas. And it was turning into like the Dr. Chris channel.
Yes, it's exactly what it was turning into.
And we would purposely have to throttle our ideas and sort of harness everything and hold it all back so that we could still get Dr. John involved, so it would still be sort of an equitable thing.
Right.
And it just wasn't that way, and then it all kind of came topple down. But those are very real concerns. Now, we spend a lot of time on the negative sides of
talk about the
joints.
positive.
People are like, oh, wow, I'm never going to start a YouTube channel with anybody, ever.
No, there's so many positives, though, I think. And they can outweigh it. Like, if you can get past, like, the thinking about the business thing, and then, like, who's doing what, and you're on the same page, and you're on board, and I think it becomes easier if you're two people and you're willing to hire out the editing and the filming.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody who's starting off is going to hire anything out.
No, you're
It's
right.
just not the way that people do these kind of grassroots YouTube things. Very few people start a YouTube channel that don't have a background in multimedia of some sort.
Right.
And looking at it as a viable business, because it's not. This is not a viable business to get into because the risk
Yeah, you can't start this to make money.
The failure rate is so high. It's a terrible investment.
Yeah.
It's a terrible investment. You have to do it because you actually enjoy doing it. And then sometimes
it will work out.
It'll blossom into something that can be a career or a living. It might be short-lived. It might be longer term. Who knows? But there's so much variability and luck and randomness associated with it. It's not a good investment strategy.
Right. I think it's like a good social media strategy as an aside to an already establishing business that's making money.
Right. And not to say that it's all for naught, because investing time to do this is not just for the purpose of having a successful YouTube channel.
Right.
Investing the time and learning some of these skills, now all of a sudden you can make videos.
Yeah.
You have skills doing that. So there's that too. So I don't want to kind of paint it in that bad light. Positive aspects of it, there are many.
There are.
What would you say?
Well, I think first and foremost, like for us, it's fun. Like it's a great excuse to go and do stuff.
That's true.
Like, I mean, we talked about this a million times before when we started our channel. It was to hold us accountable for making the most out of Vancouver.
Right.
So it gave us an excuse to go on all of these little adventures and go check out these things, and we'd film it. And we were making memories.
Could you imagine if we didn't do that, how much time we would just waste sitting on the couch like toads on a log?
Yeah, you're right. It gives us something to do, and it's fun and enjoyable. I think the second positive thing is you and I have always been into photography and video and stuff. And so it's given us an outlet to learn and to grow our skills, I think. See the progression on the internet. I'm blanking on, there's so many positives.
I'm blanking. There actually aren't that many positives.
They're all negatives.
Just start your own channel.
Just start your own channel. No, I think having a joint channel gives you the ability to make endless content, because for us, like, we didn't start with a niche. We started, our niche was us. Our videos are about us and the things we're doing, not necessarily just about photography or just about helicopters. Having both aspects, I think, allows us to make videos about more things than just like, if I was having a channel by myself, it would be a very niche down channel.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the positives is it's hard, especially when you're starting out, to have a one-sided conversation.
It is.
With a camera.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that. You're right.
It's just awkward. And it doesn't seem awkward because your viewer is having a two-person conversation.
Right.
But you as the content creator, it's always one-sided when you're creating content. So that's always really awkward, especially when you add to the mix that you're out in the public talking to a camera on a stick. Oh my God.
And it never gets easier, by the way.
No, it's just like, okay, you're very self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
It looks weird.
It does. But when you're with somebody, you're both weird. So it's a little bit easier.
You're like my force field.
Yeah. Or sometimes like I'll film you or you film me, and that feels a little more natural.
Right. Yeah. You don't feel like there's as many boomers looking at you like, oh, the selfie generation.
Yeah, look at that stupid camera. Can I be in your video?
Oh yeah, no, that's the classic line where someone walks behind you and like does that like both hands over, elbows about 90 degrees, both hands over the head, and you're doing like
waving.
that kind of like,
It's just like, oh,
yeah.
God, yeah. I think another positive is we talked about like delegation of tasks being a negative thing. I think delegation of tasks being a positive thing, especially in this relationship where, you know, I do a lot of the editing and the filming.
Well, you do everything and I reap the benefits.
Yeah.
Ding.
But there's definitely like, I definitely do more in terms of like laborious activities. Like I do the editing and I usually plan the videos, taking out like what we're doing in the videos, like the DIY projects. If you look at just the creation of the videos, running the channel, running the socials, I'm doing most of it. But the fact that you can step in and be like, listen, I know the comments are affecting you. Don't look at them. I'll take care of them. Or I'll go through and delete the bad ones or respond to them for a little while. Or say if I have something on the go, you'll say, okay, I'll upload the video, I'll put the tags in, I'll share it, I'll do all the stuff. And so it becomes easier when you have a life, if you're doing stuff like to just say, hey, can you do this? Or, you know, like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, what do you think of this video? And there's always a second opinion. You watch every video that we put up and I watch every video that we both proof it. I call it like, can you come proof this video?
Yeah.
I need you to be okay with it before I post it.
Yeah, second set of eyes is always beneficial.
Yeah.
Especially when you're second guessing yourself on either creative choices or if you just think the video sucks.
Yes.
And a lot of times you'll come and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this video. This video is terrible. And I'll be like, what's wrong with it? It's great. It looks fine. It looks exactly like what we normally, and then you post it and then people are just like, oh, great video. This is one of my favorites. And you're like, wait, what? People thought this was my favorite video? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. I think when you're going through like imposter syndrome and struggling creatively, like having that extra set of eyes is huge. And there's no like, with our channel together, there's no like jealousy or like, okay, I'm calling dibs on this piece of content.
That's another thing that I'd never thought about, is that this is kind of more niche in a sense that it applies mostly to couples who have YouTube channels. And I didn't even realize this was a thing because we have a joint YouTube channel. But there's always going to be like an element of competition if you have two separate channels and you're living in the same house doing more or less the same thing, creating content for YouTube. And unfortunately, it probably, and I can't speak from experience to this because we have a joint YouTube channel, but if one person's channel does better than the other, it can easily lead to animosity. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I remember when I was freelancing and you were doing your men's fashion thing and you were gaining some popularity and you were doing like the Aldo campaign and you were, you know, your Instagram was growing and I was doing the blog and our Instagram was not growing and our blog wasn't doing as good as your channel. And not that there was animosity, but there was definitely a little bit of jealousy because I was shooting all your photos and stuff. And I was like, why isn't my thing growing like this? You know, I think when you look at it, it's like, oh, wait, okay. So you were in a niche, you're posting consistently. You had a unique thing going.
But I mean, I think like fashion was always a fairly widespread thing. Like it had a very, very big audience because anybody who liked the look of clothes could technically be into fashion.
Right.
Whereas ultra modern DIY home
it was so niche.
Is fairly niche.
Yeah, you're right.
In Canada.
But there, like, so I felt that a little bit. I'm like, I kind of want to grow my own thing. And there was like a little bit of jealousy there, but ultimately I was like super stoked for you and to be able to be your photographer. That was really cool.
And I think like bringing money into it too, oftentimes can add another dynamic that we've never experienced because at this point we were just doing this for fun.
Right.
Whereas, you know, like people who have sizable YouTube channels, when both parties in the relationship have a channel where they're both making money, if one person's a bigger channel, they're going to be commanding, generally speaking, higher fees. So you look at it, I can imagine it would be hard because you've got somebody who is making, you know, multiple times more than the other person for really the same amount of input.
Right.
You know, and they're obviously going to command more money because they have more subs and there's more eyes on the content and therefore advertisers are going to pay more. But at the end of the day, you're both spending more or less equal amounts of time to create one unit of video, except one person's is worth twice as much.
Right.
And it kind of could probably reinforce, you know, it could probably be difficult for that to stomach that when you look at your spouse as somebody as an equal, yet they're able to make twice as much money as you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Aside from your job making what you make and me making what we make on our YouTube channel, but I don't look at that really, because you and I have always had a pretty equal partnership. We've always shared finances. We've always been super open about that. There were years where I made more money than you and pulled you through residency, and there were years, and still are years, where you make far more money than me. I don't think in our relationship, and like, this is transparency hat, and we can decide later if we want to cut this out, but you and I have always been really open about that stuff. We've always had shared bank accounts. We've always had shared finances, and there's never ever been a point where there's been like, oh, you're spending my money, or like,
it's always been, we try to look at things like as in ours, as in not as in his or hers.
Right. And I think going back to some of the negatives for joint YouTube channels, like, for us, like, we've always had businesses together and we've always shared stuff. So it made sense, and it was easier for us to transition into making money through YouTube because everything was open. Whereas if you're having a partnership with somebody and then you start to make money, and money can make things complicated, and who gets what and who gets how much and who's doing more, there is definitely like a level of difficulty that comes with that, which I think we touched on before.
And for our finances, because everyone's gonna be curious about the whole money thing. Mm-hmm. We had a joint bank account before we moved in together.
Correct.
Before we were married, before we moved in together. And it was because it was a bank account for our business.
Yes.
And then that business account that was joined, when we eventually moved in together, we opened up a separate account also in both of our names. So it was kind of like, there wasn't a discrete moment in time when we decided, hey, let's mingle our finances. Mm-hmm. It was, we were both living essentially with our parents. So we didn't have like our own utilities to pay.
Right.
But we had a business together. We needed a business account. So we had a joint bank account for the business. And then when we eventually did move in together, we just opened another joint account. Mm-hmm. And that was just because we were used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd also been together for a very long time at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Too. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to like...
You can't use that as like a template for normal.
Right. Because you know what? Some people might think that's really abnormal, that they like, I know a lot of couples who keep their finances separate, and like, that's
I've got
cool,
friends who are married and they still have separate bank accounts.
Yeah.
I think what they do is they have one joint bank account that they both throw money and contribute to, and that's where all like the home stuff comes out, like the electrical bill, the mortgage payments, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think for us, we've always gone through these weird fluctuations in terms of income on both sides. Mm-hmm. And so, like, to throw money into a pot, it just made way more sense just to have one big ass account. And then just, there was you've never made me feel bad in the 17 years of us being together.
Make more money, Peckham.
Never once have you ever said that to me. You've always celebrated any time that, we've had a good financial year on the freelance side. But you know what? The freelance side has always given us the opportunity to like have the cameras and the gear and stuff that we needed, and taxes, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about joint YouTube channels.
Yes.
So what are some other...
But that's also like a delegation of tasks.
Yeah.
Like I might be making more money on one side of it, but you also are running essentially a multimedia business on your side, which requires cameras, computers, all that stuff. So if that wasn't... and those are all business expenses.
Right.
So being able to have that as an expensible business expense...
Mm-hmm. Was an asset.
I would have to, if I wanted to go do this as a hobby, I would have to then go buy that with all post-tax dollars.
Right.
And it would be harder to be able to access that level of equipment and all that stuff. So there are benefits too as well.
Definitely. What are some other benefits? I think for us also, like, it was really helpful that both of us had the same style and same tastes in a lot of things.
Yeah, but I think that, we built our business, or not our business. We built our joint YouTube channel off of our relationship.
Yes.
Which we already knew was, at this point, was compatible by the time we started.
Yeah.
If you don't know by now.
Yeah.
But I think that, and I think a lot of people who are going into this thinking like, should I start a YouTube channel with blank? Mm-hmm. That blank is going to be their spouse or long-term partner.
Right.
So take what we said earlier in this podcast with a grain of salt, that, marriages don't last and all that stuff, which...
Yeah. It's all the things you have to consider. I talked about, we've always had interest in the same things. But with that said, we also have like compatible skills that the other person doesn't have. If you break it down from scale, like we both edit, we both film, we both know about that stuff. You also were a fantastic photographer, and that pisses me off that you don't shoot anymore. So you were so fucking good. But I'm definitely like more of the one who's like strategizing, coming up with ideas, design, keeping things consistent. And you're more of like the business side.
You're the glue that holds this brand together. I'm not gonna lie.
No. It's not true. Because yes, maybe that's the things that we need to do for every single video every single week. But on the other side, like Chris is really good at negotiating. So when we have meetings with brands, like he usually takes over that. Like he's good at talking about money out loud, which I'm not really. He's good at negotiating with people. He's good at talking to people, whereas I'm not so much. So like while I do the strategy, the ideas, the design, and the look, Chris can do the negotiating, the business side. He also does the tech support. So if I ever have any issues, he fixes that. And also like even when it comes down to like video specific stuff, Chris does the animation. Like I rarely go into After Effects and he rarely goes into Illustrator. So a lot of times if we're animating anything, I will design it in Illustrator and he animates it in After Effects, and we rarely cross into each other's platforms.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then every now and then I'll have to go in Illustrator and like fix a typo, which I have like minimal knowledge of Illustrator. How do I even know how to use Illustrator? You know what it was from?
Me.
It was from you, yes. But the only reason I learned how to use Illustrator was because we had a vinyl cutter at one point in our lives.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, when we had a company together, both creative, in addition to photography, design,
we do wide format printing,
screen printing, and we were cutting vinyl stickers for a while there. Yeah, but had to learn how to make vector graphics, paths basically.
Yeah, you got really good at Illustrator there for a while. My favorite thing still is when you're like, how do you do this in Illustrator? And I can like tell you right away what the keyword command is.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. You're like my letmegooglethatforyou.com.
Yeah, exactly. But, and I mean, I can go into After Effects and do stuff, but it takes me like 20 times longer and I don't have the patience for it.
That's what I feel about Illustrator.
Yeah, so it's like right there, it's like compatible skills. Like you have strengths that are my weaknesses and vice versa. So it really...
I'm also better at flying helicopters than you.
Yeah, so you're also better at flying drones than me.
I have more drone crashes under my belt than you.
Well, probably because you've flown more than me.
Like a factor of a bajillion.
Yeah.
In fact, I have all the drone crashes under my belt. I don't think you've ever crashed a drone, have you?
No, I don't think so.
You're like a Matty Pohopoya. Oh, actually, he got an FPV, so he's definitely crashed drones now.
Yeah.
Well, there was a while when I think his like, I remember him saying something like, "You never crashed a drone." Am I making that up? Maddie, if you ever hear this, did you ever crash a drone prior to FPV?
I feel like, I don't know, like, because I feel like he was like the master drone pilot.
I don't know who told me that. If it was, I don't think it was him though that said it. I think somebody else said, "Oh, Matty Pohopoya has never crashed a drone." I was like, really? Well, I've crashed a ton of drones.
Wish I could say the same.
Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P. Fanny, R.I.P. Mavi, R.I.P. all of the drones that you crashed into the water. FPV drones.
I have retrieved all of my FPV drones.
That's true.
And I've repaired them as well.
Okay.
So those crashes don't count.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
We are. So one thing that can be challenging about having a YouTube channel, not necessarily a negative, but could definitely be looked at as a positive, is the interest. Like you and I, like I said, have crossover interests, but I have fringe interests and so do you. So sometimes if I'm, say, not feeling so great mentally and don't really feel like being on camera, you can pull from your ideas list and be like, okay, well, maybe I'll make an FPV video or a tutorial on this thing and you know that you can deliver on that. And that gives us a video to put up. And I can kind of rely on you to kind of step up when I'm not really feeling like being on video. Or if I'm busy and don't have time to do it, like if you can film something.
I made a vlog once for your birthday when you weren't even in it.
Yeah, you did. That was really good. You killed it. Man, you know what was really weird?
Link it in the show notes.
When you sent me that video, you're like, here's the video. Like, I'm going to put it up tomorrow. Like, just check it out because we proof it or whatever. It was really weird to watch a video for our channel, polished, finished with titles, not knowing when the titles were going to pop up, not knowing what the video was about, not even knowing what songs you were going to choose, and like watching one of our videos for the first time finished.
That's what I get every single week. I go to work, I come home, and well, I get to see I'm there because I'm in the video and the filming,
right?
But I get to come back and see what you've crafted into like this little digestible package.
Yeah,
and it's great.
I like to
wait. One of my favorite things to come home from work and watch your videos.
Really? That's so nice. I can't wait to show you a lot of times, like if it's something I'm really happy with or like think is funny. But I like to wait because I used to show you like rough cuts. Now I don't like to do that. I like to finish the video, audio, color grading, everything, and then show you the video.
But I think it's just because you took a while to get out of the mindset of me being the video master in the relationship and you being like the peasant.
Yeah, I used to be like, can you make sure this is okay before I do anything with it?
Right. But now you're just like, you'll just take it all the way home and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
You won't do audio just in case there's like any subtle things that we want changed dialogue-wise.
That's like the very last thing I do anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, yeah, you're now just like, I'm the video master.
I don't know about
the
that.
master of this domain.
But I used to make videos and used to be like, oh, you should change this, or this is too long, or there's too much here, cut that out and cut that out. But
yeah, but that was like at the beginning. I would have to tell you about like pacing and like what makes an edit just not awkward.
Yeah.
Like holding on a clip too long,
or like cutting the tail and or head and tail off clips when
usually it's people leaving way too much.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't flow, and it's like, okay, that was too long.
Right.
And that's just something people get a feel for.
Definitely.
But
yeah,
now,
you definitely taught me that.
Now you're the master of the edits.
I don't think master, but thank you. I think you still kill it with the edits or I think you're just rusty.
I'm struggling with this movie in here now.
Yeah,
have to call in the reinforcements.
Do you know what, Chris, though? Like when you and I started the channel, like
make my video good sauce.
Better cream.
Yeah.
When we started the channel, we weren't really into like storytelling. Like we've definitely learned, like I've learned so much about video over the last 4 years. I think I said this to you the other day, even like crafting a story and putting a story together. And I still have so much to learn and so many improvements that I could make. But when you start like with Cold Island, planning it, with the City to Change Our Life, planning it, storyboarding it, like you learn so much by going through the process. But I'm realizing that you didn't go through that process. No, I went through that process.
You did.
All of the times. And even when we were talking about the next series that we're going to make, you're like, well, I think we should just wing it and do it. And I'm like, that's not how any of the videos like that. Maybe it seemed like that from your side, that we just kind of go in and wing it. But like, I always have a plan for Cold Island. I had everything planned. City to Change Your Life, everything. That was the most planned I've ever had a video.
But we planned that out in the retrospect, or in like afterwards.
Yeah, after the trip.
Right. We planned out what we're going to say in the narratives.
But we still did before we assembled a video. We knew what we had.
Right.
And we knew what we were going to say. But I did all the pre-production work before even editing or shooting the narrative stuff because I knew it was going to be such a shit show. Mm-hmm. But that's the experience that I've chosen to have because that's what I want to learn. Like I have a documentary that I want to make next year that we were supposed to make this year that didn't happen. And
we would actually be filming it right now.
We would be editing right now.
We would just be home from it.
Yeah. And I realized that I was really sad in the spring when we realized that we couldn't go and shoot it because of COVID. And I was really upset. And then I realized you know what, this is kind of a blessing that now I have a year to to learn more about documentary filmmaking, to learn how to storyboard and get a couple of these projects under my belt where I've gone through this so that next year when the time rolls around to shoot the doc, I'll have more experience in what it takes to put a video like that together.
And so a benefit of having a joint YouTube channel is that I can ride on your coattails.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the thing. I really love this shit, right? And I think when you have a joint YouTube channel, you either both have to love it or one of you has to love it so much and the other one has to just be really cool with going along with it and be chill with it. Because that's the way it is here.
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of I don't have the time that you have to dedicate it because it's not my job.
Right.
And I view the time that I do spend as more of a hobby. So I kind of dabble in it.
Yeah. And I don't expect you to put in the level of work that I'm putting in. I look at your job as your job and the YouTube channel is my job. And while my job is so much fun, and when I think about any other job, I'm so happy that...
So imagine if you did interventional radiology.
Oh, God.
Imagine after you finish your job, you had to do IR as a hobby.
Oh my God. Not the same. Not the same. If you hate it, I've always said, I'll start my own YouTube channel if you don't want to do this with me anymore.
No.
Anyway, so...
Speaking of which...
Yes.
Why don't we take a break and then talk about what your YouTube channel would look like if it was just you, not me.
Okay, that sounds fine. All right, let's do that.
What's that, you ask? Pixel and Lens? You haven't heard? It's our photo club. What was that noise? Today's sponsors
We're sponsoring our own podcast.
Who does that?
I don't know. We do. Pixel and Lens Visuals Club is our online photo club. It's a non-traditional photo club.
We post challenges, we post critique threads, we post any industry news. It's for anything visuals, photo, video, whatever.
It's a private Facebook group. If you want to join, it's free. You just have to answer the questions.
Answer the questions.
Yeah, please just answer the questions.
Because you get so many requests of just blank things. How do we know you're not just some random bot who's going to spam it?
Exactly. You can ask your questions there. You can get advice there. Then we have an Instagram account as well, which is more of a feature account where if you use the hashtag Pixel and Lens to share your photos, then we will potentially pick it up and share it with credit. And we also share challenges there, tips and tutorials on the Instagram feed as well.
So come be part of our photo club.
The link is in the description box.
Oh, yeah.
For everything.
There you go.
In the show notes?
Show notes.
This was terrible.
2020, no rules. Back to the podcast.
Okay, so we talked about having a joint YouTube channel, but I'd really like to explore what each of our channels would look like. Because I think about this sometimes.
Yeah, you do. You threaten this sometimes, oftentimes,
I do
always.
threaten it.
You
I don't threaten it always.
like pretty much once a week.
When you're like, well, I don't want to do this. I'm like, I'm going to go swim.
I'm going to take and Chris out of the name.
Yeah, when you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this
I don't do that
anymore.
That is not what I do. You fucker.
Okay, if you were going to have your own YouTube channel, like say if you had time to sit down and edit your videos, which I know you don't, because if you had your own YouTube channel, you'd probably post like once every 4 months. But if you had time and you could be consistent, what would your YouTube channel look like? What would be the niche? What would be the name? What would it like look like visually?
Visually, it would be a combination of helicopters in the drone factory.
Wait, do you mean niche wise?
I don't know.
Oh wait, visually.
The essence.
The essence of helicopters in the drone factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably more drones.
Yep.
A lot more montages to music.
Chris Nicholas loves a montage. To
Good
music.
montage. I love a
Love
good
a
montage.
good montage.
I love a good drone video. Actually, no, I don't really.
I don't. I hate drone montages.
Yeah, it's kind of like the most 2-bit form of video. It's just the montage.
Yeah, there's no story.
Yeah, but I mean, making beautiful visuals is in and of itself a nice thing. And some people really want to just watch, like that's their version of slow TV. It's like nice music, nice visuals. They don't have to follow a storyline. They don't have to listen to anybody talk. It's just that, and that kind of follows along. Like you watch a lot of bushcraft now.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Slow TV. It's just like it's not cinematic. Oftentimes.
Yep.
There's not a lot of talking. It's just them doing stuff in the woods.
You're right.
And so there are some people who just love drone montages, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'd probably do more drone montages.
Okay. Okay. So it would be helicopter drone niche.
Yeah.
It would look.
I'd probably shoot air rifles in it, maybe. I don't know.
Probably. It would be kind of dark and moody
That
still.
EDC life.
Accessory life. Oh my God. Would it be like called Pilot something, or would it be called Dr. Chris?
No, it would probably just be my name.
Do you
Because
think
I have a pilot persona, but I also have a physician persona.
Right.
And then I've got Chris at home persona, so it'd just be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And do you think that you would do like more variety stuff, like experiment on there, or would you just be like drones and helicopters and guns?
No, I wouldn't have guns. I don't think I'd actually have guns. But like maybe an episode I would have just like me plinking targets as just like a random thing in it.
Do you think you would do vlogs, or do you think you'd do like more tutorials?
I don't know. See, it's such a hard question because I essentially, as I grew up doing this. From our beginning of our YouTube career, in its infancy to now, it's always been doing vlogs with you.
Yeah. So like, what's the alternative?
So like, would I have even known vlogs? Like before, before you, and before my hiatus with video, I was doing BMX videos in high school and into undergrad of university. So I was just doing montages, basically these BMX videos were like montages to music. So maybe I'd still be doing something like that. I don't know. I always liked the idea though of doing like really like cinematic looking stuff, but not necessarily cinematic in a sense that there was no story to it. Maybe we're doing nature videos. Who knows?
I love to think about like what your style of video and what type of video and photos you'd be shooting now if we weren't together.
I'd be doing aerial montages, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I do enjoy a good, whether it be a drone or straight from the helicopter. I do love, I've always been fascinated with that aerial perspective. Like I don't know if I said on the podcast, but you know this, like when I was in elementary school, I remember seeing, you remember those videos that you'd watch, those VHS videos in music when they'd just be like random kind of like tacky or corny music videos that had kids in them? I
don't think we had those.
See, I grew up in the US, in Texas.
Yeah.
And we had those.
Okay.
And one of the music videos was like something about if I had wings and I could fly.
Yeah.
And I remember like they had kids in the videos and they would put these like literally just like cut out cardboard wings and like stick it to their back, and then you could clearly tell they had like strings attached to them, and the kid would do like a Superman like fist in the air with one hand and they just like float off the screen.
Oh my God.
And then they'd cut to like stock footage.
Okay.
Of like aerial footage.
Right.
And it was the stock footage that I was just fascinated with. Because they would like be buzzing these. It was obviously shot on helicopters.
I was going to say, because like back then there was no drones.
There's no drones. It was all helicopters. So it was obviously shot on helicopters. And I remember them bombing rivers, like down in river runs, doing river runs. And I was like, oh my God, that's fascinating. And then like soaring over like cliffs that looked like Newfoundland, where I was like, that's where I grew up before elementary school.
Right.
So like I remember seeing this like, oh my God, I love that idea of just flying and like, but creation of this footage is like, I wasn't actually thinking as a kid creating the footage, but I remember thinking as a kid, like, I'd love to be able to fly like that.
Right.
And that's always stuck with me. And then getting into video, it's kind of a combination of those things. So long story short, I'd probably make aerial cinematics.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I remember back, like, when you were shooting BMX videos when I was coming around, like, I remember you, like, rigging up like a DIY crane because you wanted to get like the camera higher. Like
Right.
you always wanted to get that like higher
Dynamic
angle. Yeah.
aerial camera movements.
Yeah, exactly. And it was obviously before drones.
Yep.
And that's what you were kind of looking for, was that different
Yeah, it was an element of
perspective.
that and just trying to get interesting camera angles. But also, like, I came just short of building a cable system to do,
Yeah.
like, but literally like what people would do in the quote unquote olden days, like the early 2000s before drones were mainstays. They would, mountain biking was, I think, one of the main sports that used this for their action films, was using cable cams where they would literally set up a zip line through the woods, through trees, that followed the course of a mountain bike trail.
Right.
They would put pulleys on the zip line and
my
then
God.
get into a harness, and the person would literally be strapped in a harness hanging from the zip line, filming the person doing a follow shot.
Right, because this was before action cams and selfie sticks and everything.
Right. It was before
Yeah.
the days of GoPro. It was before drones. It was before all of that.
How old are you? Sorry, I'm just kidding.
84 years.
This was in the fucking 70s.
You
No,
know,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
No, this is like, you know, what?
No,
like
this is like late
early
2000s.
Early 2000s was when
Yeah.
this was. Late 90s,
I think
early
we
2000s.
forget how
Old we are, yes.
No, I think we forget how
Mrs. fucking ice pack strapped
fuck
to
you.
your butt.
Shut idiot.
You idiot, you're stupid. That's you again.
Stupid. Idiot.
Yes, Chris, you're stupid.
I think we forget how quickly camera technology changed.
We definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if I could have, and I was thinking about that actually today, I was watching you asked me to prove a video today. I was watching a video today, and it's in 4K, super sharp on a 4K laptop, and how crisp it looked. And it brought me back, and I actually remember thinking back, wow, I remember when I made the jump from high 8 to mini DV, and I got the Sony VX2000, went from like a single chip consumer.
3CCD?
Yeah, exactly. And people don't even know what that means.
I know.
Yeah, 3CCDs with a dichroic prism to split the beam into different signals. People are like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was like 3-chip cameras that had separate RGB sensors. That was like the epitome of quality.
Right.
But making a jump from high 8 to digital, I remember my dad, even though it was standard definition, my dad was enamored by it because he was always like, he'd always videotape our family gatherings, and he kind of, you know, had an affinity for tech, but certainly wasn't like a video dude.
Yeah.
But he could appreciate quality, and he remembers, like, I remember him saying, wow, it is so clear. And the colors, it's just amazing. And it's probably more the difference of going from high 8 to mini DV. That was
Right.
kind of the biggest jump.
Yeah.
But to have like a prosumer camera and thinking like that was impressive to him, I was like, oh my God, if he could only nowadays see
He would be blown away
the
by
quality that we have
quality.
now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Your dad loved it, your VX2000, when you got that. Like, wasn't he a big fan of your camera? Like, he wasn't really into cameras, but he was like tickled by it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think he always would like I said, had an affinity towards technology and cameras. My grandfather on my mom's side, so his father-in-law, was also like a very tech-oriented guy. Like he loved Sony too. So he would be absolutely tickled if he was around, just with the thought that his grandson and granddaughter-in-law were doing like campaigns with Sony.
Yeah.
Like, and just seeing also the technology that's available now would just blown him out of the water. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're getting outside of the realm of this podcast, but yeah, I think all in all, my channel will be aerial visuals and just cool shit that I like to do.
Yeah.
Like flying helicopters, flying drones. I'd probably do way more crazy helicopter adventures, and it would probably.
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like it might. If I was doing, I'd probably still be doing home renovation stuff. If I was doing that, I would also show like the spaces that I was renovating.
Interesting.
But I don't know if I would be doing that without you.
That's what I was just going to say.
Because are we saying if we never had met and we had our own lives?
No, I
and
think
channels, or if we were going to branch off right now, this very minute, Becki and Chris, as we know them right now,
Yeah.
split into 2 channels.
Yeah, I think now, because if it was like, if we didn't get together and do whatever, like, I don't think you would be into home renovations at all.
I don't think I
you
would be
had
either.
zero interest
Oh my
until
God.
I forced you into it.
I would be so tacky if you didn't.
I don't think
If I didn't know
so.
you, I would have no style.
I don't think so.
I would have no
You're giving me credit for your style?
100%.
Damn. Thank you.
Did you see me before when we started going out?
Yeah, but I wasn't like change your style. I always loved what you wore.
No, but
like you got into like that streetwear stuff and you got into men's fashion by yourself.
okay,
Like
fair enough. But with that said, I think home stuff for sure.
Well, yeah, because you were like, what's a home renovation?
But I had no interest in home renovations too. So I can 100% say that
Yes.
you were the reason. What I would do is I would have probably
You probably would have built like rigs for your cameras and stuff, but I don't think you would have been doing home renovations.
No, I don't think I would be there. And a lot of the knowledge that I have in home renovation comes from your side of the family, like your uncles, your dad.
Yeah.
Like they were the ones that really single-handedly kind of showed us the ropes to get us started and all that.
Yeah.
And would answer any questions we had. So without you in that, I don't think I would be doing the hands-on renovation stuff.
But like when you and I, like I said earlier, started going out, like you were making mini ramps and you were making cranes and cable cams and you made like a steady cam one.
Well, I was always mechanically inclined because I was fixing bikes too all my life.
Right. So I think like you'd probably have an aspect of that, of like invention in terms of building stuff like that. Maybe
I'd still be building drones. Who knows?
I don't think you would be doing tutorials if you had your own channel, because you say you really don't like doing tutorials.
No, I wouldn't be doing tutorials. No.
It's so funny because we do them and you hate doing them, but you do them.
Well, I don't hate doing them. It's just but you always take point on them. If I had to take point on it, I probably wouldn't enjoy doing it.
Yeah. So you have like so much knowledge to share and you're such a great teacher. That's why I like it when you teach tutorials, because I feel like you have so much like I've learned so much from you over the years and I feel like other people should benefit from your knowledge in the way you teach. I think you're really good. But I understand. I don't love doing tutorials either, but I like them when people are asking about stuff and I could just say, here's a video that I made about this.
Yeah, it's almost like you get asked so many questions that are repeat questions.
It's just easier to make a video.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about the hypothetical
Chris Nicholas channel.
Chris's male accessory channel.
Yeah. You know exactly what my YouTube channel will be like.
I do. Should I guess what it is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Your channel would be Becky's Homecraft channel.
I don't think it would be called that.
Well, that's what it'd be though, essentially. Like the essence would be that.
Yeah.
You would have a split. Your pillars, I'm going to say, would be travel, but not just travel like you think of travel when you think of travel vloggers and things like that. Travel in a sense that you would go to places that matched your aesthetic, such as Norway, all the Scandinavian places, Sweden, Finland. Is Sweden even in that list? I don't know. Maybe
yes.
It's in,
okay.
Oh my. Yeah. Okay.
Are you kidding?
I don't know.
Is Sweden in that?
Like this is just like
Where do you think IKEA came from?
Like the Midwest. Scandinavia, as I know it, is just this blob of Scandinavia, something over there. I know nothing about the geography.
Scandinavia is not Sweden in itself. I think Scandinavia is like Finland, Sweden,
right, that's what I mean.
Denmark.
Just like I refer to, like I could never name what's in the Midwest.
Yeah,
it's just a blur of states that are all sort of blurred together in my mind.
Yeah.
That they all sort of blur together in this really whitewashed sort of modern aesthetic.
Okay.
Anyway, so that you would travel to places like that. You would do these hotel/accommodation reviews. Like you do like room tours in these really nice spaces that you've curated and looked for.
You're only saying this because that's exactly what I told you the other day that I wanted to do.
Well, if only that's a testament that I listened to my spouse.
Wow, thank you for listening to me.
That's why we have a solid foundation for this YouTube channel.
That's right. Nailed it.
And then you would still be doing the home alterations. You may not be doing the structural stuff yourself, but damn, you would be doing the before and afters still, and you'd be doing all of the staging because you love that stuff.
Yep.
And then you would still, I think, be doing less video-centric tutorials and more photo-centered tutorials, but you'd still be doing tutorials.
You nailed it.
Is that your channel in a nutshell? Becky's Homecraft. #Homecraft.
Homecraft. Yeah, that's exactly it. It would definitely be like home decor, makeovers, less structural, more heavy on the decorating for sure. Styling, like you said. I think definitely photography tutorials, maybe even like wrapped in around the home, but it would definitely have that look. And then you nailed it with the travel thing. Like that's something I would be obsessed with doing, would be like not just doing home tours of anything and anywhere, but like strategically picking these like beautiful places, whether they're cabins, hotels, Airbnbs, that have the look, that Nordic kind of look. I have like a list of places like that I would go to, but then like it would be a travel vlog, but it would also be like a tour, and we talk about like what it is and what we're eating and what we're doing, but like what the place looks like, and we talk about
and
all
why
the
you
things
love it so much
and why you love it. But it would be like all gimbal B-roll of like the rooms and close-up details of all the stuff that I love, and why I love it so much. We kind of did a little bit of that when we were in Vancouver. Like we stayed in some modern like Airbnbs and stuff because that's what I really, really wanted to incorporate. But so that's what I would do. It would totally be like Norway's on the top of my list, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, like everywhere over there. Fogo Island Inn, like the artist resident, like all of that there. There's a bunch of places in the Catskills that I'd love to do. Like that idea to me, less about like reviewing a place in exchange for something, or less about
capturing the essence.
And it's like that homecraft thing that we were talking about. Like, I don't know what the word is on it, but like that essence of feeling and touch and smell and, surrounding yourself with that like vibe of home. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd like to capture with travel vlogging.
Right. And I'm going to throw a curveball here and say that you probably don't think now, but I would dare say that you would start a side branch in maybe not another full pillar, but you dabble in doing cooking, but you would probably inject your sort of quirky, goofy personality into it.
Yeah.
And kind of like home stuff meets Harris's I'm cooking this.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love her. Yeah, I'm cooking this. I love her show. Oh my God, so good. Yeah, maybe.
Because you've been doing a lot more cooking lately.
I have, yeah. I don't think I'd ever be at the point now where I would like put cooking on the channel just because.
But I think it'd be more so like not as a serious thing, like I'm a cooking channel, learn how to make this because I have great recipes. It's going to be like, I'm going to try this recipe from Dennis Prescott's book that I have here.
Right.
Let's see how bad this goes. Yeah. Or let's see how good it goes. Or, whatever.
Yeah. And it would be done in like a beautifully curated, renovated kitchen.
Yes.
And like everything that would be in the shots, like down to the plates, the cutlery, even the mixing bowls and stuff would be gorgeous. Kind of like a mix between like what Pick Up Limes does with all of her beautifully curated.
I haven't watched her channel, but I know you've talked about her channel to me, and I get the essence of it.
I'm going to show you after this because like everything that she has chosen, even to put her like, she's like, a thing of baking soda. I don't even think she used baking soda, but like it's in this gorgeous, like little tiny curated bowl. Like everything looks perfect, like aesthetics. Uh-huh. And that's what I would have. And it's funny, like talking about it, I'm like, why aren't we doing that in like a lot of our stuff? And it's just like,
we lazy.
Well, I think our pillars are all over the place, and we've established this channel and this niche now that it's like, I'd like to incorporate more of that stuff on our Instagram and like actually shoot more of that stuff. And I'd love like the
you mean
travel,
like little detailed moments?
Detail moments, yeah.
Like I was gonna say we can't do the travel stuff, because of COVID.
Right, but like when COVID is over, I would love to incorporate more like.
COVID's never gonna be over.
I know. Well, when the vaccine comes out, we can do that. But I'd love to do like travel vlogs where we go to places like Norway and we pick like one of these gorgeous like huts, whatever and wherever it is, and it like capturing the essence of that and like the adventure. So it's like kind of going back to the old school travel vlogs, like in Vancouver meets like home tour. Like that's what I'd like to do. Mm-hmm. Like that would be my ideal channel, and I'd love to interject some of those ideas into our current channel.
Yep.
Because that would make me really happy.
There you go. So that's basically exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And mine was probably, you knew exactly what mine was going to be.
Oh, 100%.
So the real channel that would happen would be me just crashing and burning because I wouldn't put enough effort into it.
No, I mean, I think like the hypothetical scenario is that you have enough time to do it. I have actually like over quarantine have threatened a few times to start a second channel.
Yes, you have.
But I know I can't maintain it. It's just not sustainable to have a second channel.
You'd split the effort and end up not being able to dedicate enough to either channel.
Yeah.
Or you would burn out.
Correct. It's already hard enough to like run this podcast, run the YouTube channel, keep up with Instagram, run the Pixel Lens Facebook group and the Instagram account, be posting on that account as well. And then like on top of that, doing Wynn's Food and then renovating the house and then working on these series that we're working on. Like there's a lot of moving parts and it can become overwhelming. And while I'm not like the busiest I could be busier and I could definitely be more productive, but I can't even imagine.
But at what cost though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I would rather incorporate some of these ideas along with your ideas. Like, I mean, we do the helicopter stuff and the FPV stuff because people seem to be interested in it, but I'd like to incorporate some of these ideas of what my channel would be. Like even like silent, like going out in the woods, like incorporating some of that bushcraft inspiration, not doing bushcraft, but like the aesthetics of making fires and cooking on the stovetop and like things like that.
It's like if Craig Adams just went out in the woods and just lived for a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. I love his channel. It's so good. So relaxing. I love it, like watching the channels when they're like setting up their tent and they're getting their fires ready and they're cooking their dinner and they're showing you what they're cooking. And then like it's the nighttime and then it's the morning and they're packing up and there's fog and I love that shit. But
yeah, because you've been watching, like you said, a lot of Craig Adams. You've been watching a lot of Cody Blue now.
Yes.
Who is another person who's been kind of straddling genres.
So Cody is an interesting channel because I feel like his channel was very heavy, like photo video. And I think that he just like wasn't into it because from like some of his tweets, he was just like, I want to do like basically switch niches. But when I think of Cody's channel, I think of like now like hiking, backpacking. His channel I think is Cody and Victoria. So his wife is a part of it.
And the two of them are precious.
They're so precious. Holy shit. I love watching their little like adventures. They're really cute and they're well shot. And that's the thing. It's like bringing that like knowledge of photo video into it and like talking about it sometimes. But then the main story is like hiking or camping. And they have this like tent that goes on top of their truck and like they go out and they do their things and they mountain bike together and they're just so sweet to watch. And they're fun, you know, and I love watching them. All right. So we're going to introduce, I don't think we've done this yet, but we're going to introduce a new segment called Inspired By, because we're talking about YouTube channels. What it is basically like who you're inspired by. So we're talking about YouTube. Who are you inspired by or who are you watching lately?
Am I going first?
Well, I can go first.
All right. I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So I don't watch a whole lot of YouTube.
Neither. Okay, so this is something interesting. I saw somebody tweet a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and it was like, what percentage of YouTube do you watch that's like your niche versus not your niche? And so I was like, I think it's like 80-20, like 80% not niche, 20% niche. And when I say niche, I mean like photo video content and not like home decor or whatever. I think I've been watching even less lately now that I'm just like trying to get my mental health like on track and stop.
So when you say you get your mental health on track, why are you watching less? Why is it the relationship between your niche videos and your mental health?
I find when I'm struggling with my mental health a little bit, like when I'm feeling a little bit down, maybe have a little bit of imposter syndrome, when I watch people in my niche, it makes me feel like shit. It makes me
because they're producing such high level content.
Yes.
You can't help but compare yourself to them.
Yeah. And there are times when I am feeling really great where I can watch all that stuff and feel like motivated by it. But there are times when I don't feel so great, when I know that it's going to make me feel like shit because I'll feel like maybe my work will never look that good, or I feel like I'm being insufficient in terms of like productivity and putting out content. Like I'll see somebody post a video about a certain topic that maybe I might have wanted to talk about at some point. And I'm like, oh fuck, like this is done now, so I can't do it. Or like I should have done it, or like these people are producing these videos and I'm not producing enough videos. So now I'm getting stressed by watching the videos that they're producing, feeling like I'm not doing enough. So there's like a level of comparison. And I've always said like, don't compare yourself because it's true. But this is the reason why I haven't been watching, because when I say don't compare yourself and I'm in this mindset, I know if I watch, I'll compare.
Right.
So I don't watch. So I don't compare.
Therefore, you don't compare. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where I am now.
So you're sort of in this phase where you're avoiding photo video content for that reason.
Yes.
So what are you watching? What are you inspired by?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have like 3 channels that I've been watching pretty religiously. Obviously, Sam the Cooking Guy, I've talked about him before. You guys suggested him on Twitter to me, and
because you both swear.
Because he's so funny and he
you're both
swears
Canadian.
So much. Yeah, but because I wanted to learn.
And he's
how to
an old
cook.
man and you're an old woman.
Fuck you.
You got ice packs on your butt. What else am I gonna say?
I guess you're right. But what I've been really inspired by is this channel called Hunting for George, and this is where like it really like drove home over this week that like I really need to get back to the roots of like home decor stuff, because that's where I'm very passionate. Like that's my first passion. Like the ability to be able to create visuals is that, but like design as a whole is just it for me. And so her channel is basically like she's from Australia, and she does these like home tours of these like beautiful homes. Sometimes she does like apartments. She does some travel series type stuff, and she's renovating her house as well. But God, I love, like, she'll go through homes and she walks through it, and it's like usually just one continuous shot on a gimbal. Like she's walking around and talking about the place and touring it and showing it, and she gives 0 fucks. Like she's like, I'm gonna make a cup of tea in this like random person's
in someone else's house.
Yeah, but like she is like super cute and like not annoying to watch, and she's stylish, and the houses that she's touring are all modern and beautiful. And she's talking about like, it's not cheesy like HGTV style home stuff. It's like she's like going through the house, and then at the end she sits down and talks through it, and it's very chill. And a lot of times she has like a cup of tea in her hand, and it very much feels like the feeling that I get when I, go to a city or into a shop or into a showroom that has like that style that I love. I get a lot of inspiration and enjoyment, and I get this feeling of excitement when I go into like these stores and showrooms, and like even like Airbnbs that are designed, or like even going back to St. John's when I worked with Sam Design, like going and shooting their properties that they've completely renovated and designed. Yep. Like it gave me a feeling of comfort and excitement about things that I love. Mm-hmm. And I've been very much missing that since quarantine, because we've been home, and there's nothing here in Buffalo really of that style. Even in terms of showroom or furniture stores, they don't exist here. Mm-hmm. So can't go to Toronto, but Toronto gives me that feeling. There's a lot of places in Toronto that give me that feeling. So I've been missing that feeling a lot. And walking into a space and being like, oh my God, like touching the countertop and seeing how like the cabinetry is built and the textures and stuff. And so her channel gives me that feeling. And it's really hard to get through the television, but she does it. Her channel does it for me.
Interesting.
So I've been,
I don't know if I've ever had that feeling before.
Yeah.
Is that the excited feeling that I was talking about, like with swords when I was a kid?
Oh my God, is that the feeling?
I don't know. Might be the feeling. Is it the feeling?
It could be the feeling. It's like I only get it when I think about,
And neon blue. That was always like this mythical color that I just...
Neon blue.
Yeah. I was always trying to find neon blue, and it didn't really exist all that much. It was a hard color to achieve.
Oh my God, is that why you...
And purple starburst. Same feeling.
Oh my God, the plum one?
Yeah.
Oh, that flavor was so fucking good.
Yep.
That was the best flavor.
There was a jar on my fourth grade teacher, Miss McDonald. There was a jar of starburst on her desk, and there was all the normal colors, but there was one purple one right like in the middle of the jar.
Did you get it?
I don't know, but it was like this mythical thing to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that starburst was like came in different colors.
They used to have a pack that had the plum in it.
Yeah, but
and that pack was
somehow
the best
randomly
pack.
There was a purple starburst in the middle of the thing. I thought about it for like seemingly like the entire school year.
Oh my God, that was the best flavor.
It's funny how unresourceful kids are.
I know, you could have just went up and got it.
I could have been like, hey, Mom, can you tell me if there's like, can I get like a purple starburst somewhere? Like all I had to do was fucking ask.
Yeah.
Now, this is before the days of the internet too.
True, so you couldn't Google it.
So kids, I feel like now can Google things.
Yeah.
So if there's any kids now that they have the knowledge of the entire world at their fingertips, there should be no excuse for them not to be smart. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
That pack of Starburst was the best, by the way. It had like...
It had some good ones, but it also had some bad ones. Like it was a wide range.
Yeah, but that plum. Anyway,
I digress.
Who are you inspired by?
Who am I inspired by? I've been watching a lot of the Perkins brothers lately.
Oh, the Perkins buys.
Yeah,
they're wicked.
I don't know what their official name is. It's either Perkins Brothers Builders.
I think it's Perkins Builder Brothers.
Perkins Builder Brothers.
Let me look it up.
Anyway, they build stuff. They're contractors. And they build houses.
Perkins Builder Brothers. It's hard to say.
Perkins Builder Brothers. There you go.
I like to call them the Perkin Boys.
And they haven't been doing YouTube for a whole long time at this point. I think they might be like a year in.
Really? That's it?
Yeah, it's like if you go back in their videos, it doesn't go back that far.
Okay.
But they've been consistent since pretty much seems like day one. Mm-hmm. And they shoot everything on iPhones. And I think he has like a wireless lav mic for his iPhone.
His channel is like the perfect example of audio is greater than video.
Right. So it's easy to listen to, and the editing isn't like bad.
His pacing is really good.
You expect like for a non-photography niche channel, like in this case construction.
Very difficult. Yeah.
With someone who is kind of more or less just starting out, it's good. And it's interesting though because I think that you kind of picked up on something. He says in one of his episodes he has a drone license.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if he has a video background. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like he said, he picked up a vlogging setup, like a mirrorless or a DSLR or something, and he ended up returning it because he's like, you know what, it's just easier to do this on my phone.
Yeah.
So he edits all his videos on his phone.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I think he's using some kind of app that's locking his exposure because his auto exposure isn't all over the place like a normal phone.
No.
And his audio sounds good. His pacing is good, and that's the biggest thing. Like you said, like with a lot of these channels that are construction channels, like some of them are hard to watch because like the audio and the video is bad, but like also they're long and they don't need to be long.
Yeah. It's
and
like, look, I just wanted to figure out how to build a bridge.
Yeah,
with I-beams and concrete footings, and it was an hour and a half video or something from one channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had to watch it on like 2x.
And it was still like, you could still understand them perfectly at 2x.
Right.
But with this guy's channel, he's like teaching, he's to the point. His videos are like 7 to 9 minutes. I don't think once I've been like, all right, cut to the chase, because his pacing has been, all of his time lapses are like the perfect length and the perfect speed to get through stuff. And they're funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Except when his brother cut his fingers off.
I felt really terrible.
That was gruesome.
Yeah.
Felt
bad about that.
I could empathize with that. But yeah, like, and it makes sense though, because he did a partnership with Skillshare, and he showed some of the like examples of some of the courses he was taking. And there was one on like logo design in Illustrator, another one on like storytelling. So like he's obviously deep dive into this YouTube thing far more than would meet the eye to somebody who was not into YouTube themselves.
Yeah, he clearly thinks about the story as he's going through the videos.
Right.
Because there's actually 2 storylines in most of his videos. It's like the project storyline where he's teaching about the things.
Yep.
But then there's also the storyline of like what's happening at the job site with the buys.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been watching a lot of that. It's been entertaining and very informative from someone who has an interest in, like carpentry and home renovation stuff.
Yeah, they've been doing a series called like Building a House from Scratch or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like caught up. We binge watched it and then binge watched the rest of their channel basically. And they actually put up a new video yesterday.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's so good. I was like, what a jackpot. Like when you find a channel like that, it's like when I found Hunting for George, it was like, you hit the jackpot.
It's so funny because anybody who's listening to this podcast probably is very photo video centric and interested. So they might watch the channel and be like, I'm not watching this. This is not interesting to me at all. But I guess we're into that stuff. It's interesting for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to learn. Like, I mean, we know stuff about home renovation and how like to design stuff and build stuff interior, but like we've never built a house before. And we're curious about a lot of things like foundations, septic tanks, the way like everything basically, window structure, beams, and these guys, Perkins, like they actually go through everything and talk about it. And so it's super informative. Plus it's funny. And I always think that comedy wins when it's appropriate and like, not offensive. It's good. And they're funny. Yeah. So, and they're good to watch, so I like to learn stuff and I think it's relevant. So I guess we've both picked like an interior channel and a construction channel.
Yeah.
And I think it's just for me, very clear where our heads are at in terms of like what types of things that we want to be doing with our channel. I think I always will have that photo video baseline of what you're seeing constantly.
But I think that's just because YouTube in a sense will always be rooted in that. Any channel will have some element of production associated with it.
Right. But I definitely think like I'd love to move a little more towards that home aesthetic. I mean, clearly if you guys have been watching our channel for the last year, you have definitely seen like a little bit of a shift there.
Well, combine that with quarantine and more or less staying home more often than before.
Right.
And you're going to see more home projects.
Yeah. And we're building our studio and stuff too. And
yeah.
So, but that's the stuff we love to share. Right. So
there you go.
Right.
All right. Should we end it there?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to end it. My back is hurting. Shut up.
Yeah, my neck's hurting.
Oh, I thought you were going to make
a
joke.
Yeah. Maybe you should strap some more ice cubes to it. I'm just picturing you with a big strap around your waist and 2 little ice cubes stuck to your back.
Actually, that'd probably be a good idea because I could position them just perfectly to where my pain parts are. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
I'm doing a peace sign.
Nobody can see you doing a peace sign.